Safety office, designate before you celebrate because fans don't let fans drive drunk. This is a gorgeous facility that's hosting the OVC tournament once again this year. We wish you could be here with us as it's limited fans, limited to the pass list with friends and close family, but can't wait to bring you this game. Morehead State, the 2 seed, SEMO, the 7 seed, and this should be tight out. We were looking forward to this game all day.
Well, another one of those not your typical 2-7 type of games, and I'm telling you, these two teams are going to go at it tonight, and Morehead State thinks they've arrived, and they go right to their guy, John Broome.
John Broome worth the accolades that he's gotten as a 9-time freshman of the week, and it culminated yesterday. He's the freshman of the year.
Well, he gets them going, and adding him to this team, Preston Spradlin, also the coach of the year, we might add, adding him to this team has just been the ingredient that I feel they needed. And they kind of rally around him. You can see the bench response when Broome scores right out the gate.
Yeah, so Broome with 3 points to start. There's the lineup for SEMO. Remember, they've dealt with some injuries. Nolan Taylor, their big man, has a knee injury. He did warm up. We'll see if he plays tonight. Those are the guys starting in place of him. Starting lineups brought to you by Jostens. Jostens, the official recognition company of the OVC, and they bring you that look. Morehead starts, it's beautiful when you line up the stat sheet. It's number 1, number 2, number 3, number 4, and number 5.
And then you've got a bunch of high numbers for SEMO as you go through it.
Well, John Broome has come to play in the opening minutes. He's got all 5 for Morehead.
Now they're going to feed off of his energy, no doubt, but this is a team that's kind of been chucked, as you well know, in the easternmost parts of Kentucky. Not a lot of folks gave them a chance, and Preston Spradlin, again and again, I'll mention it tonight, has brought together a very interesting roster. He's got a mix of a couple of first-year recruits and then sprinkled in those transfers, and then any coach in this league would love to have John Broome.
Well, here's the best defensive team in the conference doing it what it does best. 29 seconds of D, and they give up that shot. And a foul down the other way. So everything working Morehead's way these first 2 minutes. The foul is on Manny Patterson. Actually, they get it on Chris Harris.
Look at this defense on the perimeter, as you mentioned. And this is just a clip back to that 29 seconds. And that's exactly what you should expect out of these two teams. And again, they're going to keep this game low scoring, although Morehead mathematically is in the mid-60s, upper 60s scoring. They would just as soon see a game in the 50s and 60s.
Oh, my goodness. Wow. Bob, how?
We'll have to check the replay.
No, I want an answer now. How? How?
Darn near miraculous.
Well, Broome was relatively held down in the 2 games against SEMO, at least by his standards, but he's got 7 already. He's got the defense on Agnew, and he fends him off. That's one of the big differences. Nolan Taylor is one of the big post players for SEMO. He played in those 2 games against Broome and frustrated him a little bit. There's Eric Reed with the swipe for SEMO.
The guard play for SEMO, in my estimation, has been something that's kind of held them together through the tough times early this season, absent a shot of that nature. And now back to Broome.
All right, you said you were going to tell me how.
Well,
so now you get a second look at it.
How about this? A well-placed shot right above the square that drops gently through. Don't know that I could add much more than that.
We're probably going to see it a couple more times, so you'll have a second chance. No worries.
If needed, you bet.
Well, Broome comes out here. Talon Cooper comes into the game for the first time, a great defender for this Morehead team. And a strong drive from Davon Cooper. 2 Coopers aren't related. Davon's from Louisville. Talon's from Spartanburg, South Carolina. SEMO looking for their first points, and they go inside to Darius Agnew. He takes advantage of Broome coming out of the game.
I have not had an opportunity to see Agnew play this season. He was not in the game that I called earlier, and his presence, and if they could get some minutes out of Patterson with some size, that may be able to offset not having Nolan Taylor in the lineup.
And remember, Taylor did come out and warm up in this game, as there goes Cooper straight to the rim. So Morehead carving out their points inside. They got the first 7 from Broom. And now Cooper with the layup. Agnew pushes off. L.J. Bryan was there to take it on the chest.
Agnew was a little upset with the switch defensively that denied him the lane, so he back dribbled a bit and went right back to the lane, and the push off is pretty easy. You can see right now we're going to catch this late, but there it is with the right hand.
Yeah, there's no doubt there. So first foul on Darius Agnew, who's had to play a lot more without Nolan Taylor, coming off his best weekend, and it'll be an offensive foul the other way. So it's Janai Broom with 7, and Morehead State has 9 overall. They lead by 7.
You can tell this is really crispy, juicy, and tender, because we wouldn't take the...
Life is trying to put our generation on the sidelines, but we refuse to let it pass us.
When we say crispy, juicy, tender, this is the juicy and... You can tell this is really crispy, juicy, and tender, because we wouldn't take the... You can tell this is really crispy, juicy, and tender, because we wouldn't take the... Just when you thought it couldn't get any better than crispy, juicy, and tender, we went and... When we say crispy, juicy, tender, this is the juicy and... You can tell this is really crispy, juicy, and tender, because we wouldn't take the... Just when you thought it couldn't get any better than crispy, juicy, and tender, we went and... You can tell this is really crispy, juicy, and tender, because we wouldn't take the... When we say crispy, juicy, tender, this is the juicy and... Just when you thought it couldn't get any better than crispy, juicy, and tender, we went and... You can tell this is really crispy, juicy, and tender, because we wouldn't take the... You can tell this is really crispy, juicy, and tender, because we wouldn't take the...
Meet Jim. Jim has kids and still had time to start a bracket. Sign up at espn.com/bracket and start your group today.
Brad Korn on the whiteboard for Southeast Missouri State, first year. He's a Bruce Weber protege. He spent a lot of time at Kansas State with Bruce Weber and also played for Bruce Weber at Southern Illinois. He's done a great job in his first year.
Hey, he's one of those guys you're familiar with in MVC land as well, and then stretching over with Bruce Weber, as you mentioned. Really personable guy, and I kind of felt like, and I talked to him back at Media Days, Connor, the thing I said to him was, Brad, you seem real comfortable in this job, because this is an outstanding job for me and my family, as is Cape Girardeau, and certainly took their lumps early on, but this is the basketball team that's been playing very well as of recent time. This guy has done a fantastic job, Preston Spradlin, at Morehead State. And why? Because he's been on the slow build. He's been putting this team together piece by piece, and he feels like this might be the culmination of clearly his best team, but it's also a team that's positioned to play well into the future.
Well, he was the OVC Coach of the Year named yesterday, and part of that is because really both teams weren't expected to be here. Morehead State was picked 8th, so they were expected to play the top seed. And SEMO was picked last. So both coaches in this game have had their teams overachieve. And a 3 goes down for Eric Reed. So Reed, like Chris Harris, who he highlighted in the open, playing his best when SEMO has started to play their best. 14 points a game in February for Eric Reed.
I always like to, when you break these teams down, and being able to watch them on ESPN Plus is indeed a plus. But when you also break them down statistically, you also want to see, to your point, Connor, how well they did in conference, how well they did out of conference. And, of course, not a lot of out of conference this season to kind of gauge it against. But Reed is one of those guys that's really come on here in the last 4 to 5 weeks.
I'll tell you, Bob, degree of difficulty for these Morehead baskets. They've been close to the basket, but degree of difficulty up there around a 9 or a 10, starting with the broom bucket.
I don't believe he's done for the evening as well.
Bold early prediction as Eric Reed went outside, now inside. He's got 5 in a row for SEMO.
And one of the things I noticed the one time I had Reed this season was evenly goes well to his right and well to his left, and he will pop up and hit the three-pointer on occasion.
He's a great three-point shooter, 35%, and more layups for Murray State. It's L.J. Bryant.
Bryant's one of those players that you saw here last season in this tournament, and you thought, wonder if he'll develop, wonder if he'll be able to help Preston Spradlin out. And off the bench, Bryant indeed does that, and he's one of those big bodies in the middle.
Well, good pass inside and a good finish for Agnew. The pass came from Chris Harris. Well, you wouldn't expect many opportunities at the rim for SEMO with how Morehead defends, but they've gotten back-to-back layups now.
Yeah, they have been. It's been obviously a result of penetration, but also going a little bit deeper into that clock and getting those down screens, and that's what's been able to free up those last 2 buckets here for SEMO.
Catch and shoot for James Baker. And a between-the-legs save by Skylar Potter. New possession for Morehead. That's the old long snapper move. Spun it out to half court. Cooper with 9 on the clock. Got another good look. Bryan muscling inside, and he puts it back. A strong start for L.J. Bryan.
Just scrappy on the boards for Bryan. He's made an impact since he's been into the game, and check mark there for Morehead State.
Well, typically there aren't many shots available or minutes available for L.J. Bryan because of the post players. As a Kenton goes up top, and he got fouled.
That was on Morehead State's number 3, James
Kenton is the guy that surprised you with his jumping ability, but just take a look at here. Morehead State would not be denied here. There's the log snap that Connor mentioned. And now L.J. Bryan just kind of cleaning it up inside here, not quitting. 3 white jerseys around the bucket. L.J. Bryan comes up with it.
Morehead State alum Phil Sims could have done something with that. That was a good snap.
Throwing a long pass there. Why put it?
Morehead State number 2, KJ Hunt number 4, Janai Broom number 23, Jalen Seabury.
Yeah, Jalen Seabury into the game for Morehead State. Agnew goes out. Good early minutes for the big man, Darius Agnew.
Actually, I like the combination of Agnew and Broom. Be curious to see how often they've played together this season, but I think we'll see a little bit more of that.
You'd like to see Bryan and Broom is what you're saying.
I'd like to see Bryan and Broom underneath.
There'll be a lot of size.
That's just a wish list kind of thing.
Okay, all right, well, we'll see if you get your wish.
Yeah, I'm going to wish it into existence, right?
You know, Bryan gets about 10 minutes a game, but might be on the uptick with a good start tonight.
And yeah, that's a good point we mentioned. We got a little surprised. We looked just a moment ago. Broom only averages 25 minutes a game.
Well, 6 to shoot. Broom gets that up, and, well, you would have believed it if it went down.
After the first couple from him, yes, I would.
Strong take by Reed, won't go, and the tap back won't go either from Nate Johnson. But Morehead stepped out of bounds. KJ Hunt on the end line. So Broom back in there, and SEMO's getting some good looks. Down 5 early.
You can tell this is really crispy, juicy, and tender because we wouldn't take the time. When we say crispy, juicy, tender, this is the juicy and just when you thought it couldn't get any better than crispy, juicy, and tender, we went and just when you thought it couldn't get any better than crispy, juicy, and tender, we went and just when you thought it couldn't get any better than crispy, juicy, and tender, we went and just when you thought it couldn't get any better than crispy, juicy, and tender, we went and
A rogue virus. No jobs. Sky-high tuition debt.
Just when you thought it couldn't get any better than crispy, juicy, and tender, we went and... Just when you thought it couldn't get any better than crispy, juicy, and tender, we went and... Just when you thought it couldn't get any better than crispy, juicy, and tender, we went and... When we say crispy, juicy, tender, this is the juicy and... When we say crispy, juicy, tender, this is the juicy and... When we say crispy, juicy, tender, this is the juicy and... When we say crispy, juicy, tender, this is the juicy and... When we say crispy, juicy, tender, this is the juicy and...
Sign up at ESPN.com/bracket and start your group today.
Bob, a chance here to say nice things about refs. This is a good catch.
Thought it initially was Hunt, but it was Broom.
I thought you were going to hold on me now that I gave you a chance to say nice things about the refs.
I generally do, as a general rule.
You are a nice guy. There's your crew tonight. Yeah, you're right. Thought it was Hunt who he threw the outlet pass to, but it was actually Broom on the rebound.
Broom needed some convincing as he went back to the huddle at that point in time too.
So it's Morehead by 5 early. Broom has 7 points. He's the OVC Freshman of the Year, named yesterday, and strong finish for Janai Broom. Month of February, he's taken it to a different level. He's got the defense here on Nate Johnson. Pushed it up, missed it, and Johnson fighting for it, and behind the back, Broom's able to save it.
Broom, first of all, took it away from Johnson, and then as falling out of bounds, flipped it behind his back.
Producer Damon Lewis said he didn't step out that time. Got him.
Hey, when you look at Brad Korn on that sideline, you get a feeling he could just play all 6'8", 6'9" of him.
Broom didn't step out of bounds, but he did take steps. Okay, so
upon further review, right?
Maybe he did step out here. Let's see. Fighting. Oh yeah, he did step out. Wow.
It's called batting 500, right?
Our complimentary segment of the broadcast with the officials lasted 2 minutes. And Reed misses the three-point shot short, and here comes Morehead. They don't get you in a lot of high-tempo situations. 3 missed by Hunt, but swept up by Broom. And 2 chances down that time for Morehead, and they'll get a third on the foul on SEMO on the blocked out.
Fouls on Southeast Missouri's number 5, Chris Harris. That's his second.
That's 2 on Harris. That's a big loss.
That's what I was going to say. Not quite sure. That's what you want to see if you're a SEMO fan. Harris with an early spot on the bench here, and probably sit a good bit of this remainder 10:36.
So you're trying to knock off the number 2 team in the conference, and now your leading scorer, Chris Harris, at 13 tonight, might be done for the half.
While we're looking at those numbers, Harris averages 30-plus minutes per game. You know, Broom with the basketball only at 25, and we were kind of surprised by that. We saw it earlier.
Nigel Russell with the good defense and the steal for SEMO. And Russell taking it down inside. SEMO's forced 3 consecutive turnovers, but haven't been able to turn it into points yet, and they give it away. Talon Cooper, one of the best defenders on the best team of the OVC, turns it into transition points for Broom.
Broom just running the floor exactly to the basket, not in a wing, but right up underneath it, and had to kind of make an adjustment on that lay-in, but good for 2, and just a great hustle. First created on the defensive end by the steal.
Offensive foul on DQ Nicholas. This is what Morehead does. They take the ball away from you, and they lock you down.
Easy to find number 4 down the road.
Should say, Bob, the back end of that replay is more like it. You know, they They actually don't take the ball away from you that much. That's what's amazing about this Morehead team. You know, near the bottom of the conference in turnovers forced, but Preston Spradlin's team is basically at the top in every other defensive category.
And again, because they don't score a lot, mid-60s, they have to rely on that defense, and it's been a combination that's worked well for him.
Skylar Potter. Let's see, everybody's looking at each other, and third opinion says it's a charge. So it goes on Skylar Potter. That's his first.
Watch Branson make the play inside and pick it up right there. Potter with a turnaround and a little bit of the shoulder. And Branson is not in this game because of his offense, Connor. He is in there to play defense to try and limit some opportunities beyond Broom on this team. And that time he does just that. He picks up the charge.
Branson can be tagged as that 3-and-D type of guy. He's had a couple of games where he's been perfect from deep. Out there to spread the floor. And that's out of bounds off the miss from Manny Patterson.
In the game for Morehead State, number 22, L.J. Bryan, and for Southeast Missouri, number 5, Chris Harris.
Well, how about this, Bob? Chris Harris picked up the 2 fouls. He's coming back in a stretch here where SEMO really needs to find some scoring.
Well, clearly you're going to look at Morehead and see if they're going to go right at Harris. And he's got to play smart as well within himself. SEMO must have him on the floor. He must be able to finish this game, despite the fact he's got 2 fouls here with just under 9 to go first half.
With 2 fouls and no points for SEMO's top scorer. And SEMO has gone almost 4 minutes now without a basket. Now they've come up with some stops too. It's basically been a stalemate. Both teams locking down now.
Yeah, it's a little bit more of the game that SEMO was playing before they went on that run, and kind of that back and forth lower scoring game that we kind of expect out of Morehead.
So where's it going to come from for SEMO? Nigel Russell, strong drive in the first bucket in 4 minutes.
That's nice for SEMO because they double screened high for him, and he was able to spin off of that and penetrate, and that's a big bucket that gets them off the snide.
Well, let's see if that Eastern Illinois performance for Nigel Russell gets him going consistently on offense. That was the game last week that clinched the OVC tournament berth, and Russell was great. Another stop for SEMO, rebound for Patterson. Harris playing with the 2. Ball buzzing. And a strong rebound for Potter. Off the miss from Nicholas. That's one of those rare open looks you get against this Morehead defense.
And L.J. Bryan back in. Broom not in the game for Morehead State. Wanting to post Bryan up low.
You sound disappointed we didn't get your dream look with Broom and Bryan in there together.
Well, yeah, that's a great point because it seems to be interchangeable. And I still think Morehead State, the next couple of possessions, will try to come down and work it at least through the low post once with Bryan.
And James Baker's a pretty good option to pair with Bryan right now. Another turnover forced. And a 3 on the way. And it swirls off for Potter. And more put-back work for L.J. Bryan. What a force he's been early.
Very solid off the bench. And again, I'm looking for the Broom and Bryan on the floor at the same time. The offensive rebounding that Morehead State's been able to accomplish here has been the difference.
And Preston Spradlin's been so impressed what he's gotten from Bryan. And Russell stepped out of bounds. So L.J. Bryan plays about 10 minutes a game, but his points per 40 skyrocketing for the Eagles.
Your top salesman is working from home while working to close a deal. What does Uncle Larry decided to stop by 2 weeks ago? This looks like a job for Smile Power. Good thing your employees have dental insurance backed nationally by over 65 years of molar defending experience. So their healthy deal closers are always ready to close. Unleash your smile power with Delta Dental of Tennessee. Talk to your employer or visit coveryourmouth.com today to learn more.
Visit Evansville, Indiana, where E is for everyone. Ideal for a weekend getaway, family reunion, group tour, concert or sporting event, small business meeting, or a large convention. Evansville has a fun, friendly environment with all the amenities of a big city. Exciting events, festivals, and attractions all year long. A thriving downtown with new hotels, nightlife, fabulous restaurants, and entertainment. We're conveniently located in the heart of the Midwest with all the charm you could ever hope for. Yes, Hoosier hospitality is alive and well. Come visit Evansville and you will see E is for everyone.
Hello, I'm Chad Miles, host of Kentucky Afield, the longest-running outdoor show in the nation. I've had the privilege of watching Kentucky's elk herd grow to the largest east of the Mississippi, attaining Boone and Crockett status, and I've shared in some amazing elk hunts along the way. This year, nearly 600 tags are available to the public, and you can take your pick of tags to put in for and possibly go on the hunt of a lifetime. Simply apply by April 30th for your chance to hunt elk right here in Kentucky.
Bob, trick shots brought to you by Janai Broom.
Yeah, just power rebounding and a follow there. The spin move high off the glass. I love how he goes high off the glass, Connor. Watch most all these shots, and this one was again the one you're looking for an explanation on. He can't believe it as he comes down the floor. He's still talking about it. Look at him.
That is your job.
I made that shot. Look at Janai.
That is your job as the color guy to explain things. I mean, that's not that much to ask.
Brother, I said high off the square, off the glass.
Oh, Broom will sit down out of the timeout again. You wonder, Bob, is there not enough scoring on the floor right now for SEMO with a Morehead team that can devastate you defensively?
Well, just breaking this down, of the 5 that's on the floor now, they've only scored 2 of SEMO's 12 points.
No, the scoring keeps coming for Morehead State. Talon Cooper from long range. He's their best from out there, 38% for Cooper on the season, sophomore out of South Carolina.
Yeah, Cooper's the guy that I felt like emerged late last season, and particularly in this tournament, and just again has been steady. Pretty good interior defense in by Morehead. They're complementing what they're doing to SEMO on the offensive end, and you just had a feeling that, you know, Morehead, when they left this tournament last year and was eliminated, they could just add a piece. I feel like they'd be pretty good. And welcome, Mr. Broom.
Yeah, they added all right with the freshman Broom from Plant City, Florida. Played his high school basketball in Tampa. But L.J. Bryan's been a pretty good number 2 option in the post. He's down there working hard with 9 to shoot. Shot comes from the outside and flanks off for Cooper. And Branson's there to grab the rebound for SEMO. Reed over the top. We asked about the scoring, Bob. Reed had the 5 early points. Agnew had the 4 early points, and they're both back out there out of the break.
You must, particularly Agnew, I think, in the inside. I think you need to get some production out of him. That shot then by Reed, rather awkward, and I don't know if that was just congestion or a legitimate screen set, but just really didn't look good when it went off, and then ended up above the basket, out of play.
Congestion, that's pretty typical against a Morehead defense. They've held SEMO to 1 field goal the last 7 minutes. And it'll march back down that way again on the turnover by Potter.
Or as we say in the South, they're just gumming it all up, right? They're doing an outstanding job in the inside.
Okay.
Preston would enjoy that if you were to talk to him about that.
We're going to come back to that one.
Translation, not enough spacing. Oh, Branson hit his head.
Oh, and no foul called. Branson turned around thinking he got fouled. He was called for being out of bounds. Yeah, you could hear that. We're elevated here at Ford Center. You could hear that up top.
This is not for the faint of heart to watch. Toward the end. Credit Branson.
It was maybe more the shoulder than the head. Still a little whiplash for Dylan Branson.
Time and time again, we talk about getting under 10 before halftime and all of those statistics, and I think it's very important here for SEMO.
Well, they get their stop. Inside 4 to go until halftime. Well, 2 regular season meetings. Morehead won by double digits in each. And it's down to a 10-point game here in the first half. Agnew with his 3rd field goal.
Boy, Agnew just reversed under the basket, shielded the defender. That was a very nice individual play, I might add. And notice, neither one of these teams have gotten a lot of points in transition, save the long ball that they threw to Broom for the lay-in.
Well, look out here. Kenton's a freak athlete and blew the layup. Oh, he made a great play to get the steal and then couldn't finish it. And Kenton's the transfer out of Nebraska that sat last year. He's thrown down a couple of vicious dunks this year. Strong take care, high off window, and Potter has it down to SEMO on the miss. Parker Long's getting some extended run here in the first half.
Try to get some minutes out of him defensively.
Well, second chance, Eric Reed crashes in there. You can see Brad Korn mixing up the personnel. Get some different groups in there to try to get some points. And it's Long that created, but then the block. Agnew had it stripped away.
Line is out on the floor.
This is what's gotten SEMO back in the game with this great move by Agnew.
Just when you thought it couldn't get any better than crispy, juicy, and tender, we went and just when you thought it couldn't get any better than crispy, juicy, and tender, we went and just when you thought it couldn't get any better than crispy, juicy, and tender, we went and you can tell this is really crispy, juicy, and tender because we wouldn't take the when we say crispy, juicy, tender, this is the juicy and just when you thought it couldn't get any better than crispy, juicy, and tender, we went and you can tell this is really crispy, juicy, and tender because we wouldn't take the
The news says Gen Z is struggling. I've got news for them.
I stopped 1,000.
Just when you thought it couldn't get any better than crispy, juicy, and tender, we went and you can tell this is really crispy, juicy, and tender because we wouldn't take the when we say crispy, juicy, tender, this is the juicy and you can tell this is really crispy, juicy, and tender because we wouldn't take the you can tell this is really crispy, juicy, and tender because we wouldn't take the just when you thought it couldn't get any better than crispy, juicy, and tender, we went and when we say crispy, juicy, tender, this is the juicy and
UFC 259. Buy it on ESPNplus.com/PPV.
Tournament bracket is brought to you by Graduate Nashville Hotel. When you're in Nashville for a big game, Graduate Nashville is the smartest place to stay. Well, Belmont is on to the semifinals on Friday. They beat SIUE. That was a decently close game late in our first quarterfinal. Coming up tomorrow, 4-5 JSU Murray State, 3-6 EKU and Austin P. Remember, 1-6 this year, that's a change. First time since 2010 it's been seeded straight up like that. Usually top 2 are on to the semis automatically.
So let the debate begin about whether we should go back to the old format when we get back in a, quote, normal year. I'm sure that'll be up for discussion. I'd admit, Been looking forward to this game today, as I have all of them overall. But tomorrow night's lineup, the 4-5 game, Jacksonville State and Murray State, has my eye.
And you think that the winner of this tournament could come out of that game?
I believe so. Both teams are surging, Connor, and that's kind of where I put it.
Reed with a late shot clock three, and SEMO needed that. So Eric Reed leading SEMO in this first half. He's got 8 points. And the points have been hard to come for, as they have been against Morehead all season long. Remember SEMO had Chris Harris pick up his second foul. He's not on the floor right now. He's the leading scorer. And the block came from the weak side by Nate Johnson. Used the net and got through the net to make that block.
Still keep in mind, we've not seen Nolan Taylor tonight, and unsure as to whether we will, but defensively, SEMO and now Morehead very late to the defensive end. Now SEMO has really picked it up defensively.
Well, it seems like the best chance at success right now for SEMO on offense is put the ball in Eric Reed's hands. So it's back in Reed's hands one more time, but playing through the post here with Johnson. And he lost it.
That's something we might not mention a lot, but Broom with very good defense in on Johnson in the low post. Now he and Johnson continue talking.
Southeast Missouri, 30-second timeout.
Well, Johnson had the good defense down the other way. And then Broom paid it back. So use it or lose it timeout for Brad Korn and SEMO. Well, SEMO, they're holding their own on defense too. They've held Morehead without a basket for a little over 4 minutes here.
Yeah, it's to your point earlier that you made, the scoring and the personnel that SEMO has on the floor, and particularly that given snapshot when we looked at it, was just not going to get it done for them. So being able to squeeze out an opportunity or two more on the other end by playing better defense. And again, transition points, hard to come by tonight if you're SEMO. In fact, I cannot recall one alone. Branson, as you look at him, has played really well defensively since he's been inserted. And as I mentioned at the time, I felt like that was the reason why he was in the game. And they've stepped it up since then.
Well, Bob, this is one of the pieces that has evolved for SEMO, is this full court pressure, but Morehead breaks it pretty easily, and Cooper gets a layup.
Now, Cooper got on the wing, and the attention underneath was basically denying Broom the basketball. And they came out and overplayed it, and it cost them two.
Ooh, Parker Long got his own, and that baseline has been an enemy tonight.
Got stick 'em on it, I think, if you're SEMO. And
they've been
couple of times
gumming up the baseline.
It has been. And Broom had some problems with it earlier. Don't you love replay? Just answers everything, right?
Sometimes. I mean, not a huge fan of 4-minute reviews. But yes.
Now let's cross our fingers and hope we don't get any of those tonight.
Yes, I love a good EVS operator, to answer your question. James Baker from three. And another stop for SEMO. And they'll try to trim into this 9-point Morehead lead with a half minute to go. SEMO comes here today looking for their first OVC tournament win since 2017. Morehead, the 2 seed. They've got championship hopes, trying to win 3 in 3 days. And get their first title since 2011. 7 to shoot. It's Reed. And his big half continues. One last heave here for Morehead. And Cooper knocks it down. Hash marked range for Talon Cooper. And Morehead, after an impressive first half defensively, they cap it with the...
They've got to shore that up as well. A lot to shore up, but especially when you only score 20 in 20 minutes.
Well, remember, Nolan Taylor isn't in there, a guy that scores 9 points, 4 rebounds a game, one of the best post players for Southeast Missouri State. He's had a knee injury that he's been battling, and second half begins with a foul. This is another element of it, Bob. Chris Harris, who drew that foul, missed a lot of the first half with foul trouble yet, too.
And kind of when Reed stepped up, you kind of forgot about that. But, yes, that is still an important element to this game. And now if they could get Reed and Harris in the backcourt going, could get right back in this one.
Well, and now you got foul trouble on a starter for Morehead State. That was Potter's third foul, so he's out of the game. But SEMO will give it back on the push-off. It was Manny Patterson fighting for position, and KJ Hunt took an elbow.
Now, Patterson is a guy with his size at 6'9", I think needs to be a bigger contributor on the boards. Doesn't matter which end of the floor if you're SEMO. They've got to use that height that they've got and stretch it out a little bit and make it happen for you on the boards. They're just getting hammered on the boards.
Patterson's a guy that's been a starter for a while, but he only plays in the 10 to 15 minute range. We might have to go a little longer tonight again without one of their top posts, and he's got the rebound.
Akintine is another one we've not seen a lot out of tonight for SEMO, and need a little bit of a contribution out of him as well.
Cooper races rim, still no points since halftime. 1-on-3 here for Reed. And the slip inside goes errant. Patterson's there to sweep it up, and he'll have foul shots. So there's the rebounding that you were asking for.
Yeah. Patterson looks to the bench and says, hey, I got one, and really would like to see perfect world here. See Patterson be able to finish this and start the half with a three-point opportunity, and right back where we started from.
We'll tell you that sequence started with a pass from DQ Nicholas. He is a skilled passer that's come on strong here late in the year with the shooting too.
And a leader on this team at assist, and it's another name. We could go down the list, it seems like, and as to whom we're missing off the SEMO team for Brad Korn, that we got to evolve into the game. And it's tough. Listen, it's tough for you and I. It's tough to play a game that's now at 11:30 in the East Coast and keep these young men motivated. There's not a lot of fans in here, by nature of what's going on, and there's a question mark with Baker. They're looking at him down at the end of the bench for Morehead. There's a question mark about
blood. There's a question mark
everywhere.
About blood.
Yeah.
But your point was what?
There's lots of question marks here. Where do you get that energy from? There's not pep bands here. There's not cheerleaders here. It's very late at night. There's not a lot of fans here. Yet this is an important ball game. Now, I think this is an element where coaching kind of comes into it, where the motivation element of coaching comes into it. And then we'll find out where Baker is bleeding from. That's important as well. I'm going to take a look at him. Looks like you might need a cut guy in the corner there.
Get the boxing stripes out.
Get it out.
So the first 2 points of the second half go to SEMO. The Red Hawks looking for their first OVC tournament win since 2017. Morehead comes in second place finisher in the regular season, hot down the stretch, beat the top team Belmont in overtime to close out the regular season. Into the freshman of the year, Broom slides off, and a battle down there. Seabury comes out with it, and nothing falling for Morehead, and a foul on Broom reaching in.
Do you feel the SEMO fans below us trying to bring some energy to this building? Yeah, perhaps that's the answer here. This is a foolish foul by Broom right here. You're leading scorer on this team, and I don't know about that when I look at it. And you've got to play a little bit smarter than that, not reach in. You lost the rebound, go down the floor and play defense.
Kind of a nonchalant reach in. So a touch foul on Broom. He'll stay in after the foul. And Patterson's done good work since halftime. Fell down, though. Oh, and it splits two SEMO players. And the Red Hawks will get it back. It was good hustle from Seabury. And now what do we got? Shot clock should have reset, I think. They'll call that a possession for Seabury. It looked like it was either headed out of bounds or toward a backcourt violation. Well, there's a
take a look at this one. You could make the argument it's a travel.
I mean, you
had possession.
Look, you applaud the. Yeah, I get that. You applaud the hustle of Seabury, but either let that go out of bounds or let it go into the backcourt, and your team's got the ball in the half court.
That's a cardinal sin right there. You're right.
You love the floor burn, though.
Feeling that tomorrow morning.
Yeah. So we'll see on the clock. It's at 3. Crew's gone to the monitor. And it'll go to 27. So, we're not down there, so we can't get the explanation. But I would assume that they would say that Seabury possessed it. That counts as a possession. Out resets to 30. So juggle.
So you're saying he had possession for 3 seconds, and you wouldn't call a travel in that? Okay.
I guess the juggle, and then he came to a stop. I don't know. They reviewed it.
Play on.
Remember, you're the one that's supposed to explain things. Well, you said it. Kenton's been quiet, and he's fired up, running back after a 3.
He's a guy that can get it done for you sporadically in a game. Watched him against Austin Peay back in the middle of February, and all of a sudden he did come out in a similar situation to this, hit a couple threes, dunk a few, and then kind of go away. And that's not what SEMO needs in this particular situation.
Well, the Red Hawks have scored all 5 since halftime. Morehead hasn't gotten a bucket, and with 5 on the clock, Kenton gets tangled up with Cooper.
He gets credit for a tackle here, too, what Kenton does. First to 3.
Mouth agape as he runs back. It's good ball movement there from the Red Hawks.
Yeah, and then he gets credit for a tackle on the other hand.
Tom Matukowicz would like that.
SEMO football coach. Love it.
So Morehead headed down to 5. Their possession was really going nowhere. And then the foul by Kenton gets him a new 20. And look at Broom between 3. Couldn't stick it back, and Harris goes flying in for the rebound. Oh, Reed had a seam. Harris is off. Patterson another rebound.
And a rare rebound on the offensive end.
Okay, we got a shot clock issue again. It should read 18. And they quickly correct it. But we showed you the rebounding pack for Morehead at halftime, and it's been all SEMO, more specifically all Manny Patterson since halftime.
And you could go on and on about different areas that SEMO needed to improve, but just getting those kind of shots by Atkinson back to back, pretty much the same spot on the floor.
And a timeout for Morehead State. SEMO rushing onto the floor, 6 in a row from Nana Kenton. And Bob, this is a 1-point game.
Now this is the energy we talked about SEMO needed, and this guy's provided it. Back-to-back threes.
Just when you thought it couldn't get any better than crispy, juicy, and tender, we went and just when you thought it couldn't get any better than crispy, juicy, and tender, we went and just when you thought it couldn't get any better than crispy, juicy, and tender, we went and you can tell this is really crispy, juicy, and tender because we wouldn't take the you can tell this is really crispy, juicy, and tender because we wouldn't take the you can tell this is really crispy, juicy, and tender because we wouldn't take the you can tell this is really crispy, juicy, and tender because we wouldn't take the you can tell this is really crispy, juicy, and tender because we wouldn't take the You can tell this is really crispy, juicy, and tender because we wouldn't take the When we say crispy, juicy, tender, this is the juicy and just when you thought it couldn't get any better than crispy, juicy, and tender, we went and just when you thought it couldn't get any better than crispy, juicy, and tender, we went and just when you thought it couldn't get any better than crispy, juicy, and tender, we went and just when you thought it couldn't get any better than crispy, juicy, and tender, we went and when we say crispy, juicy, tender, this is the juicy and just when you thought it couldn't get any better than crispy, juicy, and tender, we went and just when you thought it couldn't get any better than crispy, juicy, and tender, we went and just when you thought it couldn't get any better than crispy, juicy, and tender, we went and when we say crispy, juicy, tender, this is the juicy and just when you thought it couldn't get any better than crispy, juicy, and tender, we went and
The news says Gen Z is struggling. I've got news for them.
I stopped 1,000.
You can tell this is really crispy, juicy, and tender because we wouldn't take the
It's NBA on ABC time. Mavs, Nets, Clippers, Bucks on ABC.
.80 run since halftime for SEMO, Bob.
Very important that they find the energy. They found it from an unsuspecting source here. And Atkinson back-to-back threes, talking a little bit. And look at the emotion that now you're seeing from SEMO. And I had mentioned it was just kind of lacking overall in the building. Maybe you could parlay this into some points. Athletic director likes it.
Yeah, Brady Barkey, the athletic director that hired Brad Korn to run this program, made a surprising run to get into this tournament after being picked last. And you're right, Nana Kenton, the transfer from Nebraska, playing with great energy and starting to see some shots fall down too.
Now we got to have Patterson fall in place if you're SEMO. That's what you would like to see next. Maybe Reed and Harris step up their game a little bit, and you're right back in it. It's a one-point game.
Well, Morehead had started 0 for 6 from the floor, and Talon Cooper breaks the seal in the second half.
And notice after the timeout with the substitution pattern, Broom does not return to the game for Morehead.
Well, Reed can't hit on a three, a little too strong. Winner tonight goes on to the semifinals. Got to win 3 and 3 to get the auto bid. One of the first that the country will give out. And that's out of bounds, staying with Morehead State. So that's taking us to our next timeout. Morehead finally gets that bucket and lead by 3.
We build on success and the success of others. But we are more than sports. We are institutions that play a special role. We are a community that cares, supporting one another beyond the field of competition. Now and always, we are all together. We are all the Ohio Valley Conference.
You don't become a legend by being distracted. Legends are born out of discipline and focus. We are Legends Bank. Committed, strong, and growing stronger. Be part of something legendary. Legends Bank. Member FDIC.
It was just a few drinks. I'm good. I thought it was good.
After every game, we always have a few. It's no big deal. It was no big deal.
Hey, I can hold my liquor. I thought I could hold my liquor.
Our tournament series is presented by the Kentucky Department of Fish and Wildlife. Partner with us to protect Kentucky's wildlife heritage. And these two played in 2003 in the 2-versus-7 game, and Morehead has beaten SEMO in each of the previous conference tournament meetings here in the OVC.
Interesting that both of our games tonight have seen relatively new series inside of the OVC tournament. And
right.
This one 2-0, and kind of at a flex point, I feel, here as we just finished up the first media timeout of the second half. You feel a little bit of a surge from SEMO, and just a 3-point game.
And SEMO's had a knack for playing good games in this tournament. 2017 was their last tournament win. They beat Tennessee State in overtime, and they're within 3 after trailing by 9 at halftime. Trailed by as many as 12 in the first half. 5 to shoot here. Hunt putting on the shakes, gives it up, and the fall-away shot is short, and an offensive rebound won't go for James Baker, and SEMO survives that without giving up any points.
Too much dribbling then by Hunt on that last possession, and just didn't, in the end, create a clean 3-point opportunity, and then Morehead, with the offensive rebound, yet again couldn't complete.
Oh, Patterson had one in close. And Reed had it stripped. James Baker, strong physical play there. Cooper weaving, now banging, and he turns around to knock it down. Talon Cooper has the only 4 points for Morehead.
And boy, if you could watch Preston Spradlin, then it was one of those no, yeah, good shot kind of thing as you watched him go down the sideline. And I don't think that's necessarily what they were looking for in that circumstance, but good one-on-one play then by Cooper.
Well, Reed got it blocked, and the follow-up comes from McKenton. Well, we kind of both felt it coming in that this wasn't going to be like the first couple of meetings. Those were back in January. One of the meetings, SEMO was just out of a COVID pause. Lost by 14, lost by 11 to Morehead State. And that shot splashed in from KJ Hunt, a smooth jump shot for Hunt.
That's more what they were looking for. They Morehead in that case with that ball rotation, and they just moved it to the weak side, didn't even bother to screen, and he drains the 3.
Well, Morehead won 16 of their final 17 games to get to this point. And a strong defensive stand there. Hunt had the closeout.
A name we have not mentioned in a while, Mr. Broom.
And he's got a lot of attention down there in the post, and a couple came there to box him out. Broom had the big start, had the first 7 for Morehead State. And no points for Broom since the 10-minute mark of the first half, and Kenton finally misses from that wing.
Well, that time in that case, he got a little defensive pressure and a little bit more of an off-balance shot when he took it right then, and not the result he was looking for, the result he had the previous 2 times.
And the threes with open looks hard to come by against Morehead as Cooper wraps around the lane to score.
Yeah, Kenton got screened out then, and Cooper was actually surprised once he got into the lane and how open and available it was, and just put it right back up and in.
They've asked Talon Cooper to change up his role a little bit in OVC play. He's become more of an off-ball guard, and he's come off the bench, and he's having a good second half. He's got 6. And Brad Korn has to take a timeout.
Yeah, a little 2-for-1 here. You're going to get another one here in just a moment. And he also had some defensive personnel he wanted to get onto the floor, just wasn't able to do so without a dead ball. See how surprised Cooper is once he got through that traffic?
Yeah, I wouldn't want to be staring down L.J. Bryant if I were a defender. That was a pretty mean, just stand around screen that he set.
Well, Bryant got Patterson and a Kenton with that screen, and again created that opportunity there for Cooper.
Kind of a double lead block through the hole there for Talon Cooper. Well, there's a debate on this Morehead team, and you can understand why. With how they play defense, who is their best defender? The answer has changed throughout different times throughout the year for Preston Spradlin, Morehead's head coach. Talon Cooper's in that conversation. He said Davon Cooper's in that conversation. Some believe it's James Baker.
I would argue that's a good thing overall. I think in the end it's Baker, at least statistically when you look at it. And again, we talked, I think, in the first game about steals as a measurement, and I don't see that as a greater overall measurement. Sometimes it's how teams kind of shy away from him.
Nicholas came up with an air ball there. So you got to look at that Morehead defense.
Back-to-back empty possessions for SEMO, right, when they got it to be a 3-point game, and now that lead stretched back out to 7. Seems subtle at this point in time in the game, but those 2 possessions right there, kind of mark those, make a mental note of them. We'll probably come back to them.
Yeah, SEMO had it down to a 1-point game, and Morehead's steadied the score line since they took a timeout on the 8-0 run. And good hands there for Nigel Russell. So SEMO will try to slash away again before our break coming up. SEMO won 4 of 5 to end the regular season. It was that big overtime win against Austin Peay that got them rolling. Also beat Eastern Kentucky, the 3 seed in this tournament, and that's an offensive foul. And Darius Agnew is frustrated by that call.
That is his second, team third.
So again, another empty possession as we head to the timeout.
Time is out on the floor.
Just when you thought it couldn't get any better than crispy, juicy, and tender, we went and... Just when you thought it couldn't get any better than crispy, juicy, and tender, we went and...
Life is trying to put our generation on the sidelines, but we refuse to let it pass us.
Just when you thought it couldn't get any better than crispy, juicy, and tender, we went and... You can tell this is really crispy, juicy, and tender, because we wouldn't take the... When we say crispy, juicy, tender, this is the juicy and... When we say crispy, juicy, tender, this is the juicy and... You can tell this is really crispy, juicy, and tender, because we wouldn't take the... You can tell this is really crispy, juicy, and tender, because we wouldn't take the... When we say crispy, juicy, tender, this is the juicy and... Just when you thought it couldn't get any better than crispy, juicy, and tender, we went and... Just when you thought it couldn't get any better than crispy, juicy, and tender, we went and... Just when you thought it couldn't get any better than crispy, juicy, and tender, we went and... You can tell this is really crispy, juicy, and tender, because we wouldn't take the... You can tell this is really crispy, juicy, and tender, because we wouldn't take the... You can tell this is really crispy, juicy, and tender, because we wouldn't take the... You can tell this is really crispy, juicy, and tender, because we wouldn't take the... Just when you thought it couldn't get any better than crispy, juicy, and tender, we went and... When we say crispy, juicy, tender, this is the juicy and... When we say crispy, juicy, tender, this is the juicy and... Just when you thought it couldn't get any better than crispy, juicy, and tender, we went and... You can tell this is really crispy, juicy, and tender, because we wouldn't take the...
Hey, look the other way. They were waving at the wrong camera. Good dance moves, though. A Dabba Dee Dabba Die got the Morehead fans going there during the break. Your favorite song?
We were trying to determine the lyrics of that, and I don't even know if you could Google that and find out. But I tell you one thing, that guy right there wants to dial up some points. It has been very difficult here in the second half for SEMO. Save that one run, which got him, as you mentioned, Connor, to 1. They've had 8 possessions here in the second half where they have not gotten a shot off.
And it was such a good start. First 8 points went to SEMO in this half. 7-point lead feels big against Morehead, the way they defend. Number 1 in the conference in scoring, 3-point D, rebounding, blocked shots, and they're starting to score it better here. Davon Cooper to the rim.
I thought maybe a design play coming out of the timeout would be to go back to Broom, who's now back in the game, but instead Davon Cooper. Nice penetration.
Agnew taking it in on Broom. Broom stripped him. And Agnew able to fight that thing home. That was a battle.
That was a will of who wanted to prevail. And Agnew needing to give his team another boost here in the second half. And Broom's defensive talents are kind of understated.
Oh, he got a deep catch, but can't finish the three-point play. Janai Broom to the free throw line.
This is called position in the low post. And actually, not so much position in that case as just throwing the ball deep into the low post and letting the talented Broom go and get it. Results in free throw opportunities.
The OVC Freshman of the Year, first at Morehead State since 2001 when Morehead State Hall of Famer Ricky Menard was the Freshman of the Year in the OVC. It was amazing to me. I could have sworn that Kenneth Fareed would have won Freshman of the Year, but actually outdone in the 07-08 season by Marquise Weddle at UT Martin. People forget.
Yeah.
Who
had the better NBA career? And that would be Kenneth Fareed, yeah. One of the things about Fareed, he wasn't a super prolific scorer. I know that sounds a little bit contradictory as Harris hits the shot, but Fareed was a rebounding machine.
He was a big part of that 2011 second round run when Morehead State beat the 4 seed that year, Louisville.
Donnie Tyndall team.
And a foul. Another attack from Davon Cooper. This was Harris down the other way.
A much needed three-pointer here by Harris. Just off the dribble. Beat Hunt. Step back three.
I think that was a 2. Is it a 2 or a 3? Definitely a 2.
In the game for Morehead State, number 3, James Becker.
So be it. That's what the book says.
Hey, look, I mean, you said.
I mean, you had that top camera angle so I could see. I'm still struggling. Helen Williamson, our first 2 games this afternoon, really enjoyed this view. I'm still struggling with it a little bit. And probably because I've gone to glasses this year, and I'm not quite sure whether I'm going to get the bifocal look with the 2-level look, or what's going to make it happen.
Oh, hi. Yeah, you've also been doing 8 hours of TV today, so
it's been a bit.
Could understand if you're seeing some ghosts. Oh, big 3 there for Eric Reed.
Boy, SEMO would like to see the ghost of Eric Reed pass. Nice shot there. That was a 3, my friend.
That was a 3. Thank you. I was getting ready to go along with your Christmas Carol theme and say Morehead State's been Scrooge on defense so far, but not on this possession. There's Eric Reed from 3.
To confirm, about a 26-footer there.
Taylor Pruitt range.
It is.
Chris Harris with a step. Couldn't finish. Broom down there to sweep up the rebound.
That's an even better shot than the 3, and Harris yet cannot get it to fall.
Ooh, Cooper flung it over his shoulder and got fouled.
Fouls on Southeast Missouri, number 33, Dylan Brownson. That's his second, team 6th. In the game for Southeast Missouri, number 25.
Not sure how that didn't stay down.
Russell, replacing Dylan Brownson. At the line for Morehead State,
Davon Cooper, guy out of Louisville. And Preston Spradlin admittedly wanted him bad, and he acted on that. He barely ever missed one of his AAU games when he was coming up in high school. So got the commitment from Davon Cooper, now the redshirt junior. Good to see him coming back, playing well throughout the season, but also in this event. He played 5 games last year, Davon Cooper did, before the year-ending injury.
Think about this. Inside of what Kentucky refers to as the triangle, Lexington, Louisville, Frankfort. Go just a little bit east. They got 2 basketball teams in the OVC that have a better record than the University of Kentucky. One of those would be Morehead State, and the other would be Eastern Kentucky, who we'll see tomorrow night. You talk about a dynamite guard. Wait till you see Green for Eastern Kentucky tomorrow night. Another one of those honorees in the All-OVC. But think about this. When have you ever seen Eastern Kentucky and Morehead State have more wins than the University of Kentucky in a season?
I'm sure Preston Spradlin would be happy to tell his old boss, Coach Cal, that. As Harris gets inside. Tough bucket for Chris Harris, who was held scoreless in the first half.
Harris did not get the last one, next to last one to finish on the inside move, but this time he did, and all of a sudden, back to a 5-point game, and Harris is heating up at just the right time for SEMO.
Reed had the deflection, little broken play here. SEMO scrambling around on defense, and Skylar Potter makes him pay.
That's just a backbreaker for SEMO. They were all over the floor, scattered, deflecting balls, and then Potter finds himself open and nails the 3.
Harris to Reed, right back at you. So 5-point game. Kenton gambled. So SEMO will have to recover one more time on defense. Stop and start for Cooper. Off-balance shot. Oh, and they got a late whistle. And this will go down towards SEMO's way. And that's on Broom. So the 3 for Potter gave Morehead some cushion, then Harris and Reed teamed up to get SEMO back within 5.
Your top salesman is working from home while working to close a deal. But his Uncle Larry decided to stop by 2 weeks ago. This looks like a job for Smile Power. Good thing your employees have dental insurance backed nationally by over 65 years of molar defending experience. So their healthy deal closers are always ready to close. Unleash your smile power with Delta Dental of Tennessee. Talk to your employer or visit coveryourmouth.com today to learn more.
Visit Evansville, Indiana, where E is for everyone. Ideal for a weekend getaway, family reunion, group tour, concert or sporting event, small business meeting, or a large convention. Evansville has a fun, friendly environment with all the amenities of a big city. Exciting events, festivals, and attractions all year long. A thriving downtown with new hotels, nightlife, fabulous restaurants, and entertainment. We're conveniently located in the heart of the Midwest with all the charm you could ever hope for. Yes, Hoosier hospitality is alive and well. Come visit Evansville and you will see E is for everyone.
Hello, I'm Chad Miles, host of Kentucky Afield, the longest running outdoor show in the nation. I've had the privilege of watching Kentucky's elk herd grow to the largest east of the Mississippi, attaining Boone and Crockett status, and I've shared in some amazing elk hunts along the way. This year, nearly 600 tags are available to the public, and you can take your pick of tags to put in for and possibly go on the hunt of a lifetime. Simply apply by April 30th for your chance to hunt elk right here in Kentucky.
SEMO trying to pull our first upset in our final quarterfinal. We've seen 4 games here today. The women played earlier on, and the top 2 seeds were tested, but did win. And tomorrow it will be the SEMO women. Rika Patterson and her team will try to defend the conference championship that they won here a year ago. They get Murray State, and it's the 4-5 game with Jacksonville State and Tennessee Tech. And you'll be working long and hard again tomorrow.
I will. Going to walk next door and take a nap here in a little bit. Be back for a 1 o'clock Central start tomorrow. And just like the men's bracket, the 4-5 game is of interest to me.
Another good drive here for Chris Harris. Coming on here in the second half.
On Morehead State's number 55, Talon Cooper, that's his first, team fifth.
So Chris Harris, we told you at the top of the show, Bob, SEMO won 4 of 5 to end the regular season, and basically a straight parallel with Chris Harris scoring and playing well overall.
And that guard play, Harris now starting to creep up a little bit with 5. Reed with 17. That's seen the improvement that's necessary for that trajectory to happen in the manner you just talked about.
It's a 3-point game, Bob.
I feel like we're going to be down to the finish here as we head to the witching hour in the East Coast.
Okay. Cooper, or Potter rather, he got reached in on. And Harris will pick up his first foul of the second half. Well, they got that. They actually got that on Johnson.
Harris was making sure it wasn't on him, and I can understand why.
At the line for Morehead State, number 22, L.J. Bryant.
Here's Bryant, who I was raving about in the first half because of his impact, and just really hadn't seen a lot out of him or Broom for that matter here in the second half.
So front end converted for L.J. Bryan. That's a big shot for a 51% free throw shooter. Here's the foul, and yeah, definitely off the ball. A little shove in the back from Nate Johnson. Those were Bryan's first points since halftime. You mentioned the big start to the game. Perfect 3 of 3 start from the floor.
If I told you Reed had 17 for SEMO and Broom would have 10 for Morehead at this juncture, would you really believe me coming in?
No. I think that was a rhetorical question, but no. So SEMO has it down to 4. They've trailed by as many as 12 in this game. Eric Reed's having a big night, leading them with 17. And Russell hops into the lane, couldn't finish, rips it back, and new life for SEMO. Harris, little shake. There's Reed. And Morehead finally clears the defensive glass. The way it's been coming off for Reed, you had a feeling that might drop.
His spot in the corner, he hit one there earlier. Harris as well from that spot. And that's not a rhetorical question. I felt like that was indeed going in.
Yeah. Thank you for that. Russell reaches in on Davon Cooper.
To clear my good name. After all, this is a college basketball game, so maybe we should be allowed to do some rhetorical questions.
In no other sports you're allowed rhetorical questions, just college basketball. So it'll be Davon Cooper.
Oh, contrary, my friend.
That's right. Davon Cooper's back at the free throw line. He's told you he missed last year with the injury, 5 games in, and could have been expected that maybe he comes back and there's some excuses in place that he wouldn't be as sharp as he was before. But both ends of the floor, Preston Spradlin, Morehead's head coach, has said Davon Cooper's having the best season on both ends of his life.
He's another one that left here last season after being eliminated in the tournament, and you kind of had a feeling that he was going to be a guy that could really help Morehead out.
Oh, came over with the weak side block that time. Another hand check. This one on a Kenton. And Morehead is approaching double bonus territory. That was their 9th. So final and single bonus here.
Excuse me. Broom comes out and looks like he's going to set a screen against a Kenton. And I think he was expecting that. And Broom back off into the middle of the floor. And Kenton kind of caught fighting through it. And big miss here. just a 2-possession game, Connor, and SEMO just can't seem to get over the hump. They got within 1.
Well, that was right out of halftime. Had the 8-0 run. It was a Kenton that hit a couple of threes to spark that run. Where's it going to come from against the conference's top defense? Here down the stretch. Into Patterson. Turnaround hook.
And if you ask me, that's an unlikely source, but a needed source for SEMO.
Manny Patterson scored just 2 points in each of the games in the regular season back in January. Morehead won both by double digits. But Brad Korn trying to send SEMO to their first conference tournament win in 4 years. And they get another stop off the miss from Skylar Potter.
I'm very curious to see offensively what SEMO wants to do in this possession as we hit 5 minutes.
It's Reed who's had the hot hand tonight. Way short there. And Broom's got the rebound.
Reed just didn't get rotation on that ball. He had the screen. Looked good fundamentally, but no rotation on the ball. It was very flat.
Into Baker, tough catch. Oh, and they got another foul. Nigel Russell with another one that he probably feels was ticky-tacky.
Let's take a look. They'll get Russell with a reach in right there.
Well, definitely late he got some ball there. Probably the initial contact that they got him on the foul for.
In the game for MoreheadState, number 2, KJ Hunt.
Again, I will remind you, John A. Broom is on the floor and just been very quiet here from a production standpoint. And Morehead State's been able to get it done from the free throw line.
So back to a 6-point game. But remember, Broom, didn't have the explosive game that he had down the stretch against SEMO the first time. Is back into Patterson. He's got a chance at a 3-point play. You said it, unlikely source, but Patterson, little fist bump there.
Yeah, this is a great interior pass. It's going to split 2 defenders, Connor, and give Patterson an easy lane to the basket. And Cooper's got to be careful. There's no need to foul there. You were beat soundly. Let's give up the shot. Instead, he's going to create a 3-point opportunity here for SEMO.
Well, Manny Patterson playing in his first OVC tournament, the transfer from Green Bay. Makes this a 3-point game. We've got a good game coming down the stretch here. Winner on to the semifinals. 3 wins in 3 days gets you an auto bid at the NCAA tournament. And more hand action in the half court for SEMO. That's on a Kenton.
Yeah,
Kenton's number 3.
Yeah, he's playing defense like he's tired. He's very late to his assigned spot. Watch how late a Kenton gets here to it. See, he's going to come back around. And that reach around has been called consistently tonight.
And Cooper will get another chance at it. Morehead's in the double bonus the rest of the way. And Cooper's had several explosive games scoring off the bench in OVC play. 8 times he's gotten to double figures, and he's done it again tonight. He's got 15 to lead the team. Wide open 3. Ooh, in and out for a Kenton, and we'll march down the other way on the foul.
Patterson over the back. A couple of elements here. This is the shot you want. You just can't get it to fall in this case. And I got a couple of observations when we come back.
All right, Bob, let's go to the final 4 minutes. Tight one. SEMO trying to pull the upset.
Life is trying to put our generation on the sidelines, but we refuse to let it pass us.
You can tell this is really crispy, juicy, and tender because we wouldn't take the time. When we say crispy, juicy, tender, this is the juicy and when we say crispy, juicy, tender, this is the juicy and just when you thought it couldn't get any better than crispy, juicy, and tender, we went and Just when you thought it couldn't get any better than crispy, juicy, and tender, we went and... When we say crispy, juicy, tender, this is the juicy and... When we say crispy, juicy, tender, this is the juicy and... When we say crispy, juicy, tender, this is the juicy and... Just when you thought it couldn't get any better than crispy, juicy, and tender, we went and... When we say crispy, juicy, tender, this is the juicy and... When we say crispy, juicy, tender, this is the juicy and... Just when you thought it couldn't get any better than crispy, juicy, and tender, we went and... When we say crispy, juicy, tender, this is the juicy and... You can tell this is really crispy, juicy, and tender, because we wouldn't take the... You can tell this is really crispy, juicy, and tender, because we wouldn't take the...
Morehead State trying to make that first run and get an OVC title for the first time since 2011, the year that DeMonte Harper hit that big three to beat Louisville in the NCAA tournament, and big time test here against the 7-seed SEMO.
When you look at the numbers for Eric Reed and for Cooper, and Reed has been surging here in the second half. Cooper's been pretty consistent in both halves. And we asked the question who from SEMO would step up. Maybe Reed. We thought Harris for a moment. Atkinson early here in the half. We were just talking, you and I, off mic, Connor. Haven't seen any runs to speak of. Like, you know, one team go out on an 8-0 run or 10-0 run. Haven't seen a lot of transition buckets. This has been a grinded out half-court kind of game.
Yeah, not since the 8-0 run for SEMO to start the second half. Morehead then got it back from, what was it, a 1-point lead. They pushed it to 8. And with Broom at the free throw line, back up by 5. If you're up late, especially in the Eastern time zone, thank you, first of all. And I bet you're glad you did. Bet you're glad you did stay up. It'll be worth it when you're a little groggy at work tomorrow.
Or prime time in the West Coast, as far as that goes, right? Work it out that way.
They love OVC hoops in Malibu.
I could give you some connections in that part of the world to the OVC too. One of which would be our colleague Richie Schuler for ESPN.
Save it if we get a blowout later in the tournament. How about that?
From here on out, my friend, they're not going to be blowouts. This is too even of a conference.
Well, SEMO trying to prove that parity as Harris got fouled. And that's on Talon Cooper, number 3 on him. So both teams shooting bonus the rest of the way. It's 1-1 here for SEMO. And a good candidate to send up there for SEMO, 73% shooter Chris Harris. And he misses the front end. And those are ones you got to have if you're SEMO with Morehead. Locking down on defense the entire year.
Now, undoubtedly, just a simple look at time, score, number of fouls, missing the front end of 1-on-1s. And you're still trying to erase a 6-point deficit. Not good.
Ball in the hands of Cooper with 6 to shoot. Now Broom makes his move on Patterson. And the floater sticks. He was behind the backboard on the follow-through, and Broom sneaks it in.
Everything fundamentally was probably wrong about that shot. And Broom just gets it to fall.
A Reed up and under. Looked good, but too much spin on it. So Morehead has it back to 8 again.
And that possession and that early shot, Connor, by Reed just moments ago, if you could have seen Brad Korn's response to it, it really deflated that team and just was too early. There were some other opportunities there. Instead, he took a one-on-one.
Oh, strong block by Patterson, and it's out of bounds to SEMO. That was a big stop for the Redhawks. You could feel that energy emanating off of the Morehead bench after this Broom bucket.
Got deep he is along the baseline. Hits the front of the rim, goes off the backboard and back through.
Part of a double-double night for Janai Broom. Blocked by Baker. SEMO's got it back. And Baker's all over the place. He was inside, then out. Got back into the play. In and out. And Broom with his 11th rebound. The double-double, 14 points, 11 boards.
So 2 empty possessions back-to-back for SEMO. Doesn't sound significant, but you're chasing 8 points and you're under 2 minutes. And you've gotten a good shot once, and now they force another turnover on Morehead.
Skylar Potter had the travel.
Easy call there.
Well, SEMO's taking a timeout. They haven't scored in 2.5 minutes. Remember, that's a short run with what Morehead's used to. They've had games late where they just choke the life out of you, and they lead by 8 here, and that's a big deficit to climb against this defense right now.
Yeah, here's how they got it done. This is Cooper, and he's been fantastic here in the second half. And more Cooper. And at this point in time, SEMO looked like they were creeping back into it with Patterson. Little turnaround. And then Patterson on the cutter to the lane. And at that point in time, he thought, well, got it within 3 for SEMO. Crowd kind of got into it. And then a couple of empty possessions. Couple of smart possessions by Morehead State, running a little bit of clock and then stretching that lead back out. I tell you something we've missed. Branson is on crutches.
Saw that.
Noticed that earlier. There's Patterson.
So final 2 minutes, and Brad Korn taking that timeout probably to get the offense back in gear here. 2.5 minutes. There's Dylan Branson. Gave him some good defensive minutes in the first half.
I don't think now's the time when you work and go very deep in the shot clock. You probably need to see what you can get early.
They say play on, and a 3 goes down for Chris Harris. So Korn takes the timeout, and Harris responds with an open 3. So game on over the final 90 seconds. Can Morehead put it away on the offensive end? In the hands of Baker, 10 to shoot. Down to Broom. And pass deflected by Patterson. 7 on the timer now for Morehead State.
You're saying to yourself, if you're SEMO, we need to play defense for 7 more seconds here and get ourselves another opportunity. Just a 2-possession game.
Got their stop. Only needed 2 seconds of D.
That baseline has been a shop of horrors for both teams tonight. Finding exactly where it is. It hasn't moved. So many times have they stepped on it and turned it over.
So final minute. It's a 5-point game. A Kenton short on the 3. Russell with the offensive rebound. Slides it into a Kenton. In tight, couldn't get it. 2 shots on that trip down for a Kenton and no points for SEMO. And a hard foul on Cooper. And a Kenton makes sure he's all right. So it'll be 2 shots for Talon Cooper, who's the leading scorer tonight. 15 points.
No way, excuse me, Connor, no way after that last possession by SEMO can you say they have not had their chances. And they actually pulled in some offensive rebounds there as well, but just could not get the shot to fall.
Some of that, you got to believe, is the length, the shot blocking ability of Morehead State. You've got 2 and 3 footers, but you're doing it against guys that are 6'10".
Broom was lurking around there, as was Cooper. That's a good point.
Seven-point Morehead State lead. Final 50 seconds here. Winners on to the semifinals on Friday. Reed, turnaround three. Nope. Rebound for Morehead, secured by Davon Cooper. And now SEMO's got a foul. And they get the foul. Talon Cooper's going back to the line.
That was on Southeast Missouri, number 21. Anna Kenton, that is his fifth.
And Kenton is fouled out of the game.
Cooper's the wrong guy to foul, but at that point in time, you have no choice. Still trying to keep the game alive. So free throws here should take care of it.
DQ Nicholas replacing Nana Kenton.
There's Nicholas. We have not seen a lot of DQ tonight. Kenton with that surge here early in the second half, and he fouls out.
So if you're thinking about a 4-point play, still technically a 2-possession game. Kenton, he got SEMO going in this second half. And both free throws missed by Cooper. Still a chance here for SEMO. Got 20 seconds, down 7. Harris, was looking for the 4-point play. Didn't hit the shot, didn't get the foul, and Morehead State putting an exclamation point on it with the Cooper slam. And a dunk down the other way for Nigel Russell. 5 seconds to go. Morehead State can dribble the clock out. Well, the 2 seed won 16 of their final 17 in the regular season, and they had to earn it tonight against Brad Korn.